So hello and welcome back everyone. In today's video, we'll be converting this boring, simple login setup into this highly advanced OAuth setup in which you can log in from Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, even mobile phones and everything else you can see on the screen. Welcome back to our channel. We are the programmer couple. This is Pranav and today we'll be covering this topic and I'm really excited about this because this is something I wanted to learn since a long time and I'm happy that I finally learned it and I'm more than happy to share it with all of you. Now, in case you want to build a simple login platform like this one, we have built this live on YouTube channel. So if you want to follow that playlist, the link is in the description below. And this is connected with Firebase. So everything we build is connected with the Firebase backend engine and everything is dynamic, nothing is hard coded, and we have real users signed up on our website. So if you want to learn about that, go ahead. But today we'll be transforming this basic login into an OAuth platform. So without wasting any time, let's zoom in into my screen and let's start coding. And the goal is that I'll try to explain everything in detail, bit by bit, piece by piece. But still, if you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them. So you can either ask in the comments below or in the chat if you're watching this live. First of all, we have to download some libraries, which are Firebase, Firebase UI, and Angular Fire, and Firebase UI Angular. So all of these, we just have to copy this and paste it in our Visual Studio Code or basically inside your project. And this will help you download all the libraries that are needed to set this up. Now, as I said, we have already connected our project with Firebase. So if you're still on step 0, if you're still connecting your application with Firebase, check out our last video in which we did all of that. But for now, we have all of that ready, and we are going to learn the best way at the moment to add a Firebase OAuth platform simply to your Angular application. And I promise you, it will be fun. So let's see. There you go. It is downloaded already. Let's start our application and see if everything is still working fine. And I think it will be. So let's just go back to the login screen. Now our application is still loading. The next thing is that once we have that ready, we have to set up, hey, what different kind of configurations do you want? So we want the sign-up flow to be a pop-up so that we see a pop-up screen where you can choose maybe a Gmail account, your Facebook account, rather than going to a different page altogether. So you can decide that. You have a few different options over here. And then you have sign-in options. Basically, hey, do I want Google Auth? Yes, I want my application to work with Google or Gmail platforms, basically. So I want to enable that. Then the second one, object, is for Facebook, right? So yes, we want to link it with Facebook, but we also want to see the public profile, email, user list, friends. Now you can also pass an empty array here if you don't want access to all of this, but these are the options available. You can read the documentation if you really want to, make your application specific to Facebook and want to get more information. You can check what information you can retrieve from there. But I think this is a pretty good setup to start with. Similarly with Twitter, GitHub, etc. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to create a very basic one in which I basically will add all these options. So I'll just copy the whole object, and they don't tell this to you, but what I'll do is I'll actually make this application work in a much better way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a module specific for Firebase so that it's easily shareable between different modules of my application, making it easier to share with anything and even other applications if I do create a library. So I'll write nggm, which is short for ngGenerate module, and I'm going to create a separate Firebase module. Everything related to Firebase will be over there. So easier to debug, easier to share the code, and the best practice. So, and I'm going to put it in the shared folder. So nggm share, and the name of my package. So I'm going to name it maybe Firebase Auth. And if you're new to our channel, you already know the code will also be shared with the GitHub link in the description below. So you can go ahead and check that out as well. So let's start with that. nggm shared Firebase Auth. There you go. Our module is now created. So what are you waiting for? Just open the module and paste the object I just copied. It will have some errors, obviously, because there will be some imports that I'm missing. So let's add those imports as well. Okay, now that we have our import set up and we have this constant with all the values we might need, now I just need to import some modules and then make them available for the whole application. So the modules I want are these three basically: Angular Fire module, and a couple others. So I'll just copy those as well. So this is just configuration. There's no brain power being used here. There's no logic over here, right? These are just basic setup steps. So I'm going to have my environment variable. There I have the Firebase object already. So we added this object in the last video. So again, if you don't know how to set up your Angular with Firebase, go ahead and check out our last video. It is very simple to do. Basically, you don't even need to write a single line of code. All of this will be added by Angular itself if you just run one command. It's as easy as that. Let's also add some other modules that we'll need. There you go. We have imported all the modules that we would need, and now that this is ready, we can now export it. So what is happening is we are making a shareable module which we can easily pass to any page or any module of our application. So I'm going to share all of these. So basically, with the help of exports, it would be shareable and searchable all over my code. So I'm just going to format my code a little bit, and there you go. It's ready to use. And let me show you how simple it is now to pass this module throughout my application. I'll go to my app module for now and just paste it in the imports folder. There you go. Now my application has access to Firebase. Now, if you're using lazy loaded modules like I am, you would need to import this in every module you want to use it. And I want to use it in login module. So I'm going to go to login module. And again, the whole application is made on YouTube Live. So every video is there. So if you want to learn anything that we have covered before, just go ahead and check out our videos. I don't want to waste time right now to teach you that because those are the basics of Angular and we have covered them before. There you go. As simple as that. I just added Firebase Auth module into my login component. Now, all the features of Firebase are available in my login component. So let me just start the application. And what I'm going to do is, we don't want this login screen anymore, so I'm going to remove the whole form, and now we are going to add Firebase UI's OAuth platform. So I'm going to remove the whole form, and let's let it run and see if we have any errors. And if we don't have any errors, with one more copy paste or basically one more HTML component added, we would have our application up and running. Let's wait for it to refresh. It should be any second now. It is compiled successfully. So if I just hit on refresh, there you go. I have my login platform, but I don't have the form anymore. And that's fine because we just removed it. Now I will add the styles as well. This is an important step. So basically we have the Firebase styles because we are using a UI made by the Firebase team. So I'm just going to copy this import. And this will go in my angular.json file. There are a few other ways to do it as well, but this is my favorite one, angular.json all the way. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to open my angular.json file. And in the styles array, I'm going to paste this so that all the Firebase UI styles are available in my application to be used and to be shared. There you go. Now, whenever you make changes to Angular or JSON file, you need to rerun or reserve your application. So I'm going to do just that, and let's see if it works. And I'll let it, compile. Until then, I'll add the Firebase UI to my application. I think this is good. So this has a sign-in success callback. This is a sign failure callback and UI shown. So I'm going to copy the whole thing. And now after this, we will be writing some logic, which I love. So we need a success callback. So what will happen when our code is successful? Then we need error callback. What will happen when sign-in has failed? And finally, we have our UI shown, which will basically say, hey, the UI is now shown. So let's also add support for these three methods, right? Because right now it's complaining that these methods don't really exist. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to add these in my login component. And I don't need the old function anymore, right? I'm no longer using the API that I had created before to log in my user. I'm going to remove the three dots, import the components, and now it's time to write some interesting code. Okay, what do we have here? First of all, this function will be called when the sign-in is successful, as the name tells you. This one will be called when sign-in is unsuccessful, and this one will be called when the UI is shown. We actually don't need this, but just because we're doing it for the first time, I'll just write a console log statement to make sure that the UI is actually being shown. And I'm going to say UI is shown. Let's see if this is printed out. Go back, open my console, zoom in so that you guys can see. There you go. It says UI is shown, and there we have it. Our beautiful UI being able to work with all the platforms available. And I just love it. It is as simple as that. We didn't have to write a single line of code. I'm so happy about that. Now, what will happen when the user successfully logs in into my application, right? It might be different for you, but let me show you what I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to say console.log login successful so that I know that the login was actually successful. There you go. So I'm going to write console.log login success, and maybe I'll even print this object that it returns. This will basically have information about the user who just logged in into my application. Okay. And maybe after a successful login, I want to navigate to some other page. So I'm going to say this.router.navigate, and maybe I want to go to my dashboard. Once the user has successfully logged in, there's no reason. Once the user has successfully logged in, there's no reason to make the user stay on the same page, right? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to ask the user to go or to be redirected on the dashboard. Sorry. There you go. So this is my success callback. And when there's an error, maybe I just will print a warning or something like that, right? So it's as simple as that. I'll just add that logic as well. So let's go ahead and say console.warning maybe, or console.error. I'll go with warning. And I'll just print error data, which will say login has been unsuccessful. And there you can debug what the error was. So login failed with an error on the side. Perfect, perfect. Now, UI shown is printed, as you can see. Let me zoom in case you are not able to read it. And now let me try to log in with an account that already exists on my website. So I'm just going to enter some details here. Right? I'm going to say next. It's going to ask for the password, and we should get this printed. We should get login success printed, and we should also be navigated to the dashboard. Let's see if this works. I'm going to enter an incorrect password first just to make sure that Firebase is still working fine. Let's see. There you go. We get an error. It was not able to log in. That's fine. I entered an incorrect password and it says email and password you entered did not match. That was intentional. Now let's enter the correct password, and there you go. It transferred me to the dashboard, and it also printed out the login success. It says the auth result, and it says how I logged in. Right? It says you logged in with the password, and it also gives me the user information, right? Any information that I might need is present here, which is perfect. I'm happy that it's working. But the issue is, what if I want to change or log out and log in with a different user? The problem is that it doesn't show me the form anymore. Why? Because I'm already logged in. Therefore, it's not showing me the login form. Now, I need to be able to log out of my application. Only then it will allow me to test other features like sign in with Google account, sign in with Twitter maybe, right? So I need to be able to do all of that. Now, we all know that at this point, we need to add a logout feature, right? So let's do just that. Again, if you have any questions, as I said, we would be happy to answer them. So just ask your questions in the comments down below, and we would reply as soon as possible. Now, we know that we need to add a logout button. So let's start doing that already. For that, Firebase has another module or another, let's say, service that we can use. It's actually a service. And I want to add the logout button somewhere on the top, on the sidebar, right? So I'll do just that. I'll go to my app component, right? And I'll add a button over here, which will be used for logout, okay? So first of all, I'm going to say button logout. As simple as that. Now, obviously, we want to make the button a little more beautiful, but let's just see if it works. Let's just start. Let's just take baby steps. So I'll go back. I have a logout button. Perfect. I want the button to be at the far end of the screen, right? So I'll add a div. So I'll add some spacer between them. And I'll call this filler because I want to fill the space basically. I give it a class. Let's call it filler. Let's give it a style very quickly. I want to open app component.css. And we need some margin, obviously. So I'll say margin 0 and auto. They should push it to the right end of the screen. Let's see if this works. There you go. It is at the right end. Now the button looks really ugly. So let's fix that quickly right away. So I'm going to use matte button. So we already have support for Angular material in our application. We have support for Bootstrap in our application. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but if you want to learn any of that, just check out our Angular playlist. You will learn a ton, and you will also give us some valuable feedback so that we can be better. I'm going to use a matte flat button, and I'm going to use the color accent so that it's a primary color basically. And once we click on this button, I want to call the function logout. And we only want this button to be displayed when the user is logged in, right? So I'll also add that logic right away, and then we'll go to the TypeScript file and add some logic. I'm going to say I only want to show this button if the user is logged in. So is logged in. So I'm going to make this a Boolean. Now let's go to our TypeScript file and add some logic, which I love. TypeScript file. Okay, what do we have here? We have nothing basically. So first of all, I'm going to add is logged in, Boolean equals to false, right? Then there's another error that logout function is not implemented. So let's add that function as well. There you go. All errors are gone. The application should now work. And we have our button. Looks much better, at least to me. Now, the idea is we want to be able to display this button when the user is logged in. Now, how do we know that the user is logged in? That's the multi-million-dollar question. So let me implement, first of all, some interfaces in Angular. I'm going to implement onInit. So whenever the onInit is called, when the component actually starts, so this is the first thing that will be called. And then onDestroy is called when the component is destroyed or ended. So I'm going to import both these. I'm going to implement the methods that they need. So these are interfaces, right? They force us to implement some methods that are defined inside them. We have covered all of that before. So on onInit, I want to see that is my user logged in or not. So that's the logic I want. For that, I just need to import or add the Angular Auth module. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to name it Angular Fire Auth. Angular Fire Auth. Perfect. So this will tell me is the user logged in or not. So I'll say this dot Angular Fire Auth dot subscribe. Or sorry, first of all, I have to call the method that will tell me. So that is auth state. This will give me the user or null based on if the user is subscribed or not. I'm going to subscribe to this, and this will return me. Let's see what it returns. It returns me the Firebase user, as you can already see. So I'm just going to print it out for now and see if this even works. Console.log user. Let's see if this works. Again, baby steps. I don't want to write 100 lines of code and then I don't know where the code fails. So I want to take baby steps, see at every step if something failed. There you go. I see the user object. Therefore, we are logged in. It is not null. If we were logged out, it would show null. That's the idea behind it, right? So basically, I need to set up this dot is logged in. It should be true if the user is present. It should be false if the user is not present. So this is a good little technique that we can use to do just that. Now, if we are logged in, we should see the logout button. And there you go. See the logout button. It's working perfectly. I'm so happy. No errors today, right? So now if I click on this button, I should be able to log out and see the login form again. That's the idea, right? Let's see if we are able to do that. So going back to my application, what I want to do is I have the same method over here. So this dot Angular Fire Auth dot, you might have guessed it. Any guesses? Sign out. There you go. As simple as that. Now, whenever I click on this button, sign out will be called. As a better user experience, what I'll also say is navigate to the login page, right? Because once the user signs out, I don't want to stay on the dashboard anymore. I want to be able to go back. So I'll import the router module as well. I'll say private router. Let me format the file. And over here, I'm going to say this.router.navigate. Now I want to navigate again, as I said, to my login page. So I'll just give the path to my login page, refresh, and let's go back. Right, so I'm on the dashboard, I'm working with my application, I'm happy. I click on the logout button, and there you go. We are back to the login page, right? Now, last time we logged in with the email, this time let's log in with Google account. I already have my Google account logged in my Chrome browser. So as soon as I click on it, it should automatically work. Let's see. I click on here, it opens a pop-up window. It's trying to authenticate me, and it authenticated me successfully. There you go. I saw authenticate success. It says it's an OAuth credential, right? It also gives me the provider is google.com, so on and so forth. So it gives me all the information I need for this user, right? So this is perfect. I'm so happy. If I click on log out, I should be able to log out and go back to my login screen. And that works as well. So that is perfect. Everything is working in my application. I hope you learned what everything about it is, and you can let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions. Now, what if I try to log in with Twitter? Will it work? Let's see. If I click on Twitter, it says the given sign-in provider is disabled for this Firebase project. So enable it in the Firebase console using the sign-in method tab. Now let me show you why is it not working and maybe how you can fix this. I'll bring in the Firebase console in front of you. I'm going to say Firebase console. I'm going to show you my application. So I have my authentication. Inside my authentication, I have all the users who have logged in. So I just logged in with this username and password, and it says this person has an account with Google as well as with his own email, so which works perfectly fine. Now, we have a sign-in method tab, which will tell us what is enabled and what is disabled, right? So I can right now log in with only email, password, and Google. So if I want to add anything else, I just need to click on add new provider and then click on whatever application you want to support, Yahoo, Twitter, Microsoft, etc. If you, for example, click on Twitter, then you just need to give the Twitter API key, which you should have if you're planning to use Twitter authentication. And as soon as you enter that string, it will work like a charm without any issues, without any problems. That's the beauty of it. That's why I love this, right? Basically, with the help of not even writing a lot of logic, not even worrying about how to bring this the whole UI, how will it work with OAuth. It just works right out of the box, available for all of us to use for free by Firebase with Angular. I just love it. So let us know if you learned something new in this video. Let us know if this is valuable to you so that we can create set content again and again, learn new things, and then share with you so that you can learn them with us and continue on the journey. Thank you very much. Hit the like button if you liked the video, and see you next time.